Lights of blue flame engulf the entire Seirete as pillars of reishi ignite like beacons of war for the Quincy Invasion. As substitute Shinigami Ichigo Kurosaki remains trapped in Sternritter J's prison, the screams of the 13 court guard squads emanate through Ichigo's soul phone. Without wasting any time, the blood warfare begins. On orders of Shoot to Eliminate, as the Sternritter flock to Soul Society at the Quincy King's call, with the substitute Shinigami absent, the purge can ensue without any obstacles in the Great Empire's path. Each Sternritter intends to prove their usefulness to their majesty, and rack up as high a body count as possible, and maybe take a souvenir home with them as well. The matchups between the 13 court guards and the Quincy begin. Captains and lieutenants alike picking fights with the invaders to defend their home. But most importantly, the balance of the realms themselves. As the seatless division members dwindle by the second, the heads of their divisions have no choice but to use the entirety of their power to crush the Sternritter and leave behind no trace. Of all the interesting battles that transpire in the first invasion, the member of the Vandenreich who steals the show and leaves the largest impression without any doubt is Sternritter F. Nodt. For even as the being of pure horror emerges from his pillar of flame, the Shinigami around bear witness to his murderous tendencies. Surrounded by a ring of thorns, the Quincy impales his enemies with no show of mercy. The officers, as they watch their comrades fall, acknowledge everything they've done has been useless against Nodt. Meanwhile, with just one touch of those thorns, their ends are a shoo-in. But not only that, the scariest thing is how loudly Nodt's victims scream as he extinguishes their spirits. Terror filling the atmosphere, almost as if this was intentional. The non-seated Shinigami begin to cower and flee from their positions, leaving just one lone officer screaming at his subordinates to hold their ground and meet their dooms with honor. His commands fall on deaf ears. As his fellow squad members get further away, Nodt only grows closer. Just at this moment, Zabimaru's Shikai rips through the air and closes the gap between Nodt and the nameless Soul Reaper. Renji offers his respects to the officer before claiming he's more than willing to take it from here, as the Sternritter's expression remains unfazed. After multiple strikes from Zabimaru, Renji is just as unsuccessful as his lower-ranked officers, unable to cause any damage whatsoever to the malicious entity before him. Nodt is even able to block Renji's attacks with his bare hand. Blutven, the pattern that appears on Nodt's hand, creates a powerful defense for Quincy to withstand physical damage. Having no choice but to simply speed up his attack pattern, their short scuffle is interrupted by Sternritter Masked Demasculine, who appears above Renji and throws a fist down at the vice captain. And despite being able to dodge, the newly arrived Sternritter quickly fires another punch. This time, blocked by our second party crasher, Division 6 Captain Byakuya Kuchiki, who reminds Renji he need not show these intruders any mercy. They are foreign invaders who mean to annihilate the Soul Society. They must be destroyed with an overwhelming show of force. With one step taken towards the two Shinigami, Byakuya strikes with Senbon Zakura. Despite all previous attacks showing no signs of working, Senbon Zakura immediately tears through Nodt's blood vein and critically damages his hand, much to Masked Demasculine's surprise, who Byakuya also makes quick work of, shredding the ground beneath his feet and causing it to cave in, ejecting him from the battlefield. Now, with it being a 2-on-1, the Soul Society employs its counter defense. Already aware of the Quincy's ability to seal Bankai, the captains are fully prepared to accept the consequences, as long as they have each of their respective lieutenants to pick up the slack. The only way to break the seal will be to uncover its secrets. And hell, like Soifan even mentions, nothing to worry about if they can just win before they lose their Bankais. With confidence and an unyielding familiarity with victory, with their vice captains in support, the captains all individually summon their Zanpakuto's final releases in unison. Checkmate. like taking candy from a baby. Instantly, each captain's Bankai is whisked away from them as soon as they emerge, pulled directly into the medallion each Quincy carried specifically for this moment. As captain of the 6th Division, Byakuya's power is dispelled. He looks on at the imposing Sternritter Nodt as the realization begins to overcome him. Senbon Sakura Kageyoshi was not just sealed, it was completely stolen. With each Sternritter collecting their opposing captain's Bankai, the Shinigami are frozen with shock. Hitsugaya Toshiro admits his Zanpakuto spirit has gone silent as he yells out his sword's name in defiance of the reality the Soul Society has just been faced with. With no choice but to hope they can deter any other captains from losing their Bankais, they broadcast this new knowledge along a Tente Kurai Kido, much to Kurotsuchi Mayori's displeasure, who's angry the other Shinigami couldn't wait for him to complete his analysis of the situation before going off and experimenting on their own accord. The invasion shifts momentum after this development, as captains that haven't lost their Bankai are now extremely handicapped regardless. Even captain of the 7th Division, Shunsui Kyoraku, finds himself lacking the proper morale to put up a good fight, losing an eye against the Sternritter he faces and at a loss for what their next move should be. Despite watching Byakuya's Bankai be torn from his hands, in desperation, Vice Captain Abarai Renji intends to ignite his own Bankai in retaliation against Nodt, but Byakuya stops him, stating that they can't lose any more releases to the enemy. To which a hopeless Renji questions aloud, how are they supposed to win a war like this? As more and more souls are erased from Seireitei by Quincy hands, despite announcing Ichigo Kurisaki's incoming arrival and his immunity to the Bankai medallions, his entrance is delayed by Sternritter J's imprisonment technique. As the substitute Shinigami continues to attempt to escape, a cut tears across Kuchiki Byakuya's shoulder. As blood erupts from the wound, his vice captain attempts to step in, but the 6th Division captain doesn't allow him to interfere, instead choosing to have him observe from afar like their original plan. Byakuya, though, is noticing his body begin to shake. Trembling, he wonders if the thorns that Nodt carries around him have some kind of poison ability. The Sternritter picks up on this though, intuitively guessing the captain might have assumed his ability has something to do with toxicity. But the truth is, what is making Byakuya shudder is a feeling that he's hidden deep inside, an emotion that through many hardened battles and experiences, Byakuya has learned to suppress and ignore for centuries. A crippling sensation that Nodt notes as being none other than fear itself. The Sternritter actually compliments the captain, stating most Shinigami before him had perished instantly upon contact with his thorns. Not from actual injury, but from blood-curdling terror. Fear is inevitable for all those who touch Nodt's quote-unquote arrows. Anxiety builds up. One starts to question every little move, every possibility, to the point breathing or even thinking is a troublesome act. Even if Byakuya is enduring through the horror and holding up his blade, while threatening, that is all it truly is, a threat. And a threat is a far stretch from what Nodt defines as causing true fear. Slashing at the Quincy's chest, Byakuya vehemently denies the Sternritter's words. Mentally, he fights against Nodt in his head, denouncing his power, when suddenly, struck right through the chest, Nodt gleefully looks over his wounded opponent, claiming Byakuya was so stifled by his anxiety, he was standing there motionless in the middle of their fight. No matter how much the captain has trained against fear, Nodt's ability strikes at the very core of the brain. Instinct cannot be overridden, like countless flies crawling over one's body. In distress, the captain screams out. Still attempting to repress his emotions, Byakuya lashes at the Sternritter with no clear plan or intent. Readying for a counterattack, a single blade petal swayed through the air beside his sister's head a distance away. Before this very moment, Nodt never considered himself much of an artist, but the masterpiece he painted with Byakuya's own Senbon Sakura Kageyoshi could be considered nothing less but beautiful. Falling to the ground, Nodt pities the captain, acknowledging Byakuya's attempts to beat his own Bankai with Shikai is futile. In one final effort to save his captain, Abarai Renji enters the battle and swings his Zabimaru down against the Sternritter. still unable to do any considerable damage to the Quincy, despite landing clear blows to the flesh. As Nodt prepares to create another picture-perfect ending, Byakuya, in spite of all his injuries, arrives again to take attention away from his lieutenant. Throwing all care for his art career away, the Sternritter instead chooses to completely drown the 6th Division captain in blade petals. A torrent of cuts ripping through Byakuya like a wave of razor blades. As blood fills the sky around the area, Nodt shows no signs of stopping, releasing a second flood of petals upon the captain, launching him into the high tower above while Renji pleads for the Quincy to stop. Seeing absolutely no other way out of this slaughter, the vice captain is willing to risk it all and attempts once more to summon his Bankai. But whether for his own good or not, he's interrupted by the return of Masked Demasculine, who sends Renji flying a great deal away with a payback punch. Much to Nodt's annoyance, who would have enjoyed a second Bankai to take home with him. As Byakuya's final breaths exhale, he can only apologize to Rukia and Renji, knowing with his absence, they are not only at risk, but all of Soul Society. One of Seireite's greatest assets falls before Sternritter F, the Fear. Pronounced finished by the Quincy King and Jugram, they admit their conquest, despite the overwhelming success, in their opinion, has taken far too long. The Sternritter lack ruthlessness. And right on time, with the corpses of 3 Sternritter on his back, ready to challenge the Quincy King himself, Zaraki Kenpachi stands at attention, with all intents and purposes of battling the strongest enemy that the invasion has to offer. Hey guys, if you enjoyed this video, hit me with a like and subscribe so you don't miss the next video coming out for the rest of the First Invasion. Thanks so much for watching. Definitely leave a comment and let my editor know how well he did doing this, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.